Yeah, I do appreciate someone in their field of expertise
Yeah.
doing it moves from just knowledge base and skill to like this art. Like, you know,
Yep.
it's no longer just doing something. They have like an expertise that moves them into this realm of just it's an artwork. You're
Yep.
not even thinking about the actions. They're just like it's second nature, right? And
Yep.
it's more fluid.
Yeah. Like watch that muscle memory.
Yeah, yeah. I was watching my
We love.
neighbor go through, tearing our transmission out of the car, and like I would know, first thing.
Oh yeah.
There's orders, there's methodologies, how your protocols and how you
Yep.
take things apart in order, but also being mindful of how to take it apart without
Yep.
breaking something in the process, right?
Oh
And
gosh. Yeah.
he's just take that, get up under there. I mean, we're up on jacks, and I'm thinking, what if these jacks come out, and this car comes down? You don't even think about that anymore. You just get up on there and do what you need to do, pull that, unscrew that, and before you know it, this big old hunking piece of metal is being pulled out, and it's just amazing. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
just from years and years of just getting into cars and
Yep.
making mistakes. That's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
We don't talk about is the journey of mistakes
Yep.
to that place of authority and confidence in what you're doing. You know,
Yeah. I'm in the making
freaking,
mistakes part. I don't
well,
like doing it twice, but I learned something the first time. And
yeah,
all the like, and also that guy's not a Ford mechanic. So he's doing this, and this isn't his brand of expertise, and they all do it different. Like this is the first time I've worked on a Toyota. I had one, but I didn't work on it very much. So this is the first time I'm like, okay, Toyota does stuff a lot different than Honda or Ford.
yeah,
Like it's shaped different, it looks different, and to be able to walk into that unfamiliarity and still know enough to be like, okay, it's shaped different, but that's the sensor, that's the linkage, that's where the fluid comes out. This is where that the weight is balanced. This is what you can take apart and how to put it back. I take tons of pictures. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, this is how it was before I
yeah.
touched it when it worked.
Journal the experience. Absolutely right. And he said the same thing. He's like, he's got these notebooks of all the work he's done, keeps
Yep,
track of all the journey, takes pictures of everything as he's processing through it.
that's
And
awesome.
so that, and I'm looking down at the floor underneath the car, and
Yep,
there's bolts and nuts and pieces and all just spread out. Like,
yep,
how do you know what goes where after you taken it out? I think I'd be putting the thing back together wrong.
because it's
He says,
not
I
randomly
just know.
spread. Yeah,
Right.
and
He leaves them over this spot for that and over there that for that thing. And I'm like, dude,
when I
all right.
when I first got a job at a body shop, and I came in as just a an ignorant tech. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, the first car I took it apart and had all this pile of bolts in one bin. And the owner saw me do it,
Oh
and
no.
he's like, I ain't saying nothing. And then when it was through the paint shop and it was ready to put back together, he came over and he's like, all right, now what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'm gonna put it back together. How you gonna do that? And it hit me. I'm like,
Oh
I
man.
have no idea what bolt goes where, you know. And after that, I did my own system. I got like Tupperware bins and masking tape to label stuff, and learned that lesson the hard way. But he saw me do it and let me do it and was laughing about it.
Oh,
He's like,
dude.
I could tell you, but you'll never forget this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the hard that's like that's parenting 101. A
Oh
good
god,
parent's gonna,
yeah,
you don't want your children to make mistakes, but you know that if you allow them to and make the really big ones, they're gonna lock something in, but it's hard to watch them walk through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
we were just having this conversation with the boys this week, just saying, you know, we want you to make mistakes. We want you
Yeah.
to make lots of mistakes,
Yeah.
and it feels like forward coming out of a parent's mouth because we realize that we hindered them from growth because we have been trying to keep them from make mistakes. And in doing so, instilling fear
Mhm.
about making mistakes, which is even
Yeah.
more devastating
Mhm.
than making the mistake. And so having to walk that back, ask forgiveness and begin to set them on the right track, saying, we love you and we're not afraid of you making mistakes. Make mistakes, grow, mature, become who you're supposed to be. Because through mistakes, that's how you're going to become what you're designed to be.
Yeah.
And that's hard as a parent, right? I think that is.
It
At least it's
is.
hard for me, especially when it impacts you personally,
Yes.
when that mistake costs you,
Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
when they crash the car, they don't have a job to fix that. So who get, and you still have to have the car. So who gets the bill? You get the bill. So that's hard because you know that by saying make mistakes down the road, you're paying the bills for certain things. And
Yep.
and I think there's a little bit of self-preservation on that. Say, I don't want you to make mistakes because I don't have to pay for them. You know?
Yep.
But that comes with the true job of parenting. And um, I think that's something that probably should be taught at the front end of young parents saying, hey, you signed up for this job. Did you know this the fine print says you're gonna pay for their mistakes in more ways than
Yeah.
one
No.
if you
That
let
should be
them?
like chapter 1 of the manual that didn't show up that I was upset about.
There will be mistakes, lots of them.
I know
Yeah.
back when I was elementary school for sure. I already knew how to ride a bike. But I don't know if one of my friends had a 10 speed or something like that. And so I ended up, I think my parents even said, don't do it. I'm probably positive. Don't do it or don't ride it around the car or something. And I ended up riding it around the car, right around somebody's, and I scratched the paint on the neighbor's car. And of course they found out and they had to use the money that we were going to go to Disneyland with
Oh no.
to
Oh,
pay for that. And I mean that's the story in my mind that I'm remembering right now.
That's
Um,
harsh.
yeah, so yeah, it's just like
your
and the
brothers were
thing
pretty
is
mad, I'm sure.
we didn't we didn't have a lot of money, so it was my parents did the right thing. Obviously, and it was my mistake, and I'm sure I went and had to apologize and whatnot. I'm sure I did. Um, but apology doesn't you
Doesn't
know
repaint.
doesn't repaint, so it still had to be done. And that's it's just
That
like
impacted not just you and your parents, but your brothers. I'm sure they were upset about it
Yes.
too.
yeah, yep,
They
yep,
just lost out on something because of your mess up.
yeah. At least that's what
Uh,
I'm remembering in my mind. Maybe we did still go to Disneyland, but maybe we didn't get to go to Knott's Berry. It messed up part of the trip is what I'm fully remembering. But like, yeah, Lord
it's
help.
hard.
Yeah. One thing when you were talking that for me, because I grew up in the church my whole life, is mistakes equal sin.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
not true.
Nope.
No.
And that's where, especially, that's where living in fear comes from. I'm just thinking in me, there has to be a different, like, mistake and sins are different things, and
Absolutely
just
right.
because you make a mistake doesn't mean you have sinned,
No.
and that's, for me, I think I just, this just popped in my head. I'm like, oh man, I've done that so much. So that's why I don't like making mistakes, because for me it's a sin issue, and that's not true.
Right. And it cuts us, we get this, we've been trained to think when you make a mistake, you get cut off from favor.
Yes. Yeah.
And father's like withholding his favor now. Oh, you messed up. Well, you
That's
ain't getting that goodie today.
Nicole, the cat
Which,
even just whispered in. She goes, "It's not the mistake as much as is the disappointment.
yeah.
Like she feels my disappointment deeper than my anger or annoyance, you know." And
yeah.
like our father isn't like that. Like that's a failing on me to for my disappointment to be hurtful. You know, I've done it. I've communicated it in such a way that that's more important.
Yeah.
Part of it's a good thing, you know. It's like she cares about my disappointment. That's wonderful. So that's a treasure I've been given. How am I stewarding that treasure?
Yeah.
Right. Right. But I think you're right. There's a, I think it's safe to say that father does get disappointed in some choices. And
Yeah,
he's an emotional being, just like we are,
Yeah.
sure.
right? He doesn't fail in any capacity, but there is a certain reflection of disappointment. You see it written through scripture, where he emotes disappointment, but he doesn't take it to the point where he instills fear with that, right? And I think as parents, we have the propensity, because of our disappointment, to push to the next level of and making, through anger or um, taking that disappointment and emoting it in such a way that's harmful to our children, so that it establishes a damaged point in their mind, a damaged synapse, where it gives a place for fear to enter in and begin to build up. And so that disappointment then triggers in them down the road again and again this fear. I've messed up again. I've broken my relationship with my father, my mom, and all internalized,
Mm-hmm.
right? Based
Yep.
on just the initial one day you just had you were just out of sorts that day and you responded in a poor way to your child,
Yeah.
and then compound that over time. And you're like, dang, it
Yeah.
can really get down in the mouth when you realize just how much you reinforced something that you didn't
Yeah.
intend, but your children picked up and ran with. And it's humbling to recognize that. Um, and then there's such a desire, and like in us, not to want to let that remain and start walking that back, beginning to change that. And of course, isn't that just an extension of our own struggle with our disappointment with our father, what we put upon him,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what our brothers in the faith have established in their own weakness through religious doctrines and ideologies about how we interact with our father in the context of making mistakes. And I think that it needs to be retaught. It needs to be rebuilt, a framework that allows us to have this unchanging, ever growing relationship with our father that includes making mistakes. And yet, still in the mistake making, we lean further into love and grow stronger in relationship, not the opposite.
Yeah.
Right. 'Cause we can't confuse it with a value assessment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that disappointment in that cat feels from me. Like I gotta imagine that part of that is its effect on her value of herself.
Yeah.
It's a false value assessment.
Hmm.
We have this idea. I was telling Paul this yesterday about something that Father spoke to me on Tuesday about unmerited love, unmerited favor. And I just keep rolling around in my head, you know, um, this idea of he, we still feel like we have to earn the favor for our Father, like through our actions, through our deeds, being the good boy in order to continue the favor. And one of the things the Father told me is like the wicked know how to give unfavored merit to their children. Look at Joe Biden and his son. If there isn't a opposite side of the coin experience, here's a man who has extended ultimate favor, unmerited favor to his son in the face of everybody on the face of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I won't get into the politics of the whole thing, but we have a father-son relationship in the corrupted under the sun experience, where we would say this man probably should get what he gets, but dad steps in and gives him this favor. And it says, if the wicked know how to do this, how much more do I for my own children? You don't earn my favor. You don't produce the skills or the behavior that's going to allow me to give you and to release his favor to you. It's part of being my child.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, he said to me that, the example of Christ when he curses the fig tree, right? And everybody's astounded, like, wow, it happened. You spoke to it, it died. And I always wondered, like, why the heck is that there? What was the value of Yeshua saying, he shows up to his fig tree one morning. It doesn't have any fruit. It's not supposed to have fruit, by the way. I don't think people realize that. It's out of season.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the natural course of things. It's not supposed to have fruit. But the son shows up and says, I want some fruit. And it doesn't have it. And what does he do? He curses it. And we would think, what? Well, it's not supposed to. Why are you being so mean to it? And so Yahweh, Father says he links it, says this is unmerited favor. My son expects to be favored. Doesn't matter what if it's in or out of season. He expected to be given favor in this moment, and it didn't show up. And he linked it to the parable of the 10 talents and the idea that the one talent servant got, he hid the talent because he was afraid of the master, who he said was a hard master who reaped where he didn't sow and he gathered where he didn't scatter. And Father's like, you must understand that I operate in unmerited favor. Like that's me. I get favor where I didn't do anything to get it. This is the way my house runs. This is how I am towards my children. You reap where you don't sow. A son gathers where he doesn't scatter. So, and that's when he said, this is the example of what Yeshua was showing. He didn't do anything about that fig tree, but he expected, under the covering of the unmerited favor, to receive a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he responded in that drastic response of cursing the fig tree because it wasn't there. And Father's just unlocking this thing, but it really began to make me think differently about what it really means to have this favor, this unmerited favor from our Father as part of his house. And then, of course, it opens up other questions like, well, then why am I haven't gotten that $1 million yet? And why haven't I gotten that brand new tractor? And that takes the dialogue down a different course about he's also a loving father that doesn't want to destroy you by giving you everything you want. Because we always talk about spoiling children. And so there's that aspect to it. But just unlocking this, there's a freeing concept to it, really to break away from the fear of making mistakes. And that by making mistakes, I don't have to worry or fret and have fear that Father all of a sudden just pulled back the covering of favor. That I think needs to be addressed more so than ever in
Yeah.
a church where that doctrine has been established for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's another aspect. It's funny. I was going to bring this up, but the the or value assessment of humanity because of mistakes that have been made, because of errors. I walked into my group last night and I was a little late, but they had just said that's why humanity is a virus. And I got pissed. I'm like, I've heard this so many times, and I just kind of unloaded. I don't mind it. I'm like, no, I told you the truth. And I said, I'm so sick of hearing this. I said, that's an excuse. That's bullcrap. And I call BS on it. Because if you really thought you were a virus, why are you still here? Why haven't you antiseptic yourself out? I think this is just a way for you to feel good about yourself and complain about the other stuff that other people are doing, and you pump your own ego up. The whole point of last night's conversation was ego transformation. And I came in with a bit of a chip of an ego, but that's the ultimate conclusion that you come to by a value assessment based on performance.
Yep.
Sooner or later, you can be like, we're a virus. No, because nothing works perfectly without error in creation at this point in the lesson number whatever this is that Yahweh is doing on creation. You're going to come to the conclusion that humanity was a mistake because we can't seem to get it right, and it just ignores everything. It wipes hope, and
Well, it's Antichrist spirit, man.
it's horrible.
It's Antichrist is what it is.
Yeah.
It refuses to see any beauty, any redemption.
Right.
And it's real trendy right now. Mm-hmm. It's Malthusian. It's horrific. Because
you can tell real quick what the spirit is behind that thing. I mean, it's because we're created in the image of the creator. Yep. So to dog on the image is to dog on the creator.
Yep.
Yeah.
To call it something that it's not is to call the creator something he's not. It's a total Antichrist, anti-Yahweh's spirit.
Oh, I think it's even like, because not everybody there is a believer, and a Christian, a follower of Yahweh, whatever you want to call it. But it's anti-spiritual. Like, what's the point of even having a spiritual conversation at all if you believe that humanity is a virus, is a mistake? There's no spirit, there's no nothing. The only thing left is pure hedonism. Get what you want, because none of it matters. We're a mistake anyway. No good thing matters, not love, not compassion, not redemption. There's no honor, nothing matters. And it's like, it's so easily said. Like, I couldn't believe I heard someone say that in a group that says they're meeting, or people that come there to talk about spiritual things. We're not swapping garden stories. We're talking about things in the spirit. Yeah. If humanity is a virus, then you've taken that I made mistakes to such a degree that life doesn't have any meaning anymore. Yeah. The universe is a potted plant, and you're just an aphid. Ugh. Anyway.
It sounds like Stockholm syndrome, the idea that your captors have caused you to believe this lie.
Yep.
You joined forces with the one who wants to destroy humanity. All right, that sounds like a good job.
Yeah, there's no hope for anything. Like,
yeah,
if that's the case, if you even feel an inkling of that, sure, you look out in the sum total of humanity, there's an element that's really messed things up to the point where everything's a waste. Like, it destroys things to a level. I
get where it comes from. Yeah, isn't it born out of a frustration of just seeing, man, can you stop it already? Stop messing up creation. Stop messing up each other. I mean, just knock it off already. And that, if given its place and course, turns into bitterness and spite to your own species. But I can see where it starts from, because we all look out and we see the wickedness at play and we say, just knock it off already.
Yeah.
You're not helping anybody, and least of all yourself. And I think that eventually if you can't find an anchor for hope for it to change, I can see where our heart and mind would devolve into a spirit that says, fine, let's just, nihilism, all right? Just go into nihilism.
Yeah.
There's a movie I just watched. What was it called? It was dang, I'll have to find it. Um Mark Wahlberg is in it. He's the main character in that one. And it's this whole sect of humans who are they basically reincarnate themselves.
Oh,
And
yes.
when they're born, they come back and they start to remember all their previous lives, but it takes time. But you've got these two different sects
Yep.
who are being reborn, or reincarnated, and one is a nihilism. And they basically take this premise that man is a virus and it needs to be wiped off the face of the earth. So their whole point of their existence is to find this egg will eventually basically end game everybody once they turn it on. And then they've got this other sect who's hiding the egg and trying to keep humanity continuing. But it's very interesting, like that people can get into this mindset that we really need to remove people from the face of the earth because they're the problem.
Yeah. I can see where that perspective is easy to come to depending on, where your information is coming from or your own experiences. Now, it's really interesting for us to be sitting in a middle-class restaurant ordering $15 smash burgers over beer, saying that humanity is a virus. Like, okay, come on. But
Here's yeah.
yeah, it's like I didn't understand, or I just it makes me understand it more, the idea of Christ being the hope for humanity. I've heard that thrown around a lot, the hope of humanity, or the gospel of truth. I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it is the hope unto salvation. What is that? Romans 1:16, 1:16. Anyway, now that makes sense. The redemption, because I can't help but think during this conversation that my father, if the account is accurate, got to this point too. Like, I should try temper my outrage because my father, before the flood, was weary of mankind's decisions, so much so that he said, I regret. I don't know what the right words are, and it's lost in translation. But
Right.
if the story is accurate, at some point he came to wrestle with what he had done in the creation of mankind. Like, they messed up so bad that he wrestled with it.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
So, I mean, I don't think we're anywhere near that. I mean, there's beauty everywhere, even in traffic. even in the worst places in the world, there's still hope. There's still some beauty in it, right? I don't think we've gotten to the place pre-flood. We're too harsh on humanity if we think that we're close to that. But
Right. Well, it all anchors upon is there a representative in the earth that looks like him?
yeah,
If man stops looking like him, then there's another reason to start over again. But as
yeah,
long as there's a son, right,
one
in the earth, just one,
1 in 8 billion.
that's enough.
Yeah,
He can do it. He can work with it. And I think that's honestly, maybe I'm not too far off by saying it. If the sons weren't here now, then it could possibly go that way again. But because the sons are in place, there's a new flood. Honestly, this is the thing that I'm thinking about. It just dawned on me a couple of weeks ago. There is a flood coming. It's not one of water and not fire in the natural, but it's certainly of fire and water in the spirit. And it's coming through the sons of God in the earth, that the earth will be flooded. And it will be a tumultuous time where the suns break out, the breakwaters of the sonship starts to reveal itself in the earth, and nothing will be able to stop the tide of the suns as they manifest in the earth. And the flood will destroy the works of the enemy ultimately. But that's the flood I think the Father is beginning to stir up even more so.
yeah. Hope. That's a long definition of hope.
Yeah.
That we wipe out the real virus. The real virus is that spirit of destruction, fear, and loathing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so awesome.
Amen. It is awesome.
That's why joy is our strength, man.
Yeah.
Stir that cup of hope with the joy, with the, joy of the Lord. Just drink.
Yep.
Such, yeah.
And every time somebody feels joy and hope and admiration, like that's the heart of our Father. That's coming through. Like I, this group that I'm sitting in, a lot of people are not believers. Like I one time thought we were all believers, like kind of discussing things, and now it's like, no, man. Some of these people showing up, like this one lady, she loves Christ, but she can't admit to his divinity. And I'm like, okay, then he said some really smack stuff, and but but at the same time, she's usually very morose and depressed, and I feel for her, like man, and she's been through it. She's lost a son. Like she's endured things that I don't have a grid for at all and can't imagine experiencing them myself. So I got to be careful to judge too harshly because she's lived some stuff, right? And because like her response to me was when I was like, what are you talking about this virus thing? You know, well, you know, if you really believe that, you wipe yourself off. And she said, I've thought about it, and it checked me a bit. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. But the oh no, I don't. Dang, I'm so sorry, y'all.
Yes, man.
Hey, this is what live is all about, bro.
Lock me out. Yeah. Hold on. But there came a point later, and I was like, okay, to be tender here, and it's like I love you, I want you to be here. I don't think you're a virus, and I'm glad you're here. And then she's had a rough time lately. She had a concussion over Thanksgiving, and it was interesting because she felt really bad about that. And then it's like, wait, hey, maybe that was you weren't enjoying your family because your body was saying, I need you to rest. So there was some self-preservation in the ego that's good. A lot of times we say the ego's bad, and blah blah blah. But at the end, she talked about this nun who was at a local convent, and she talked about her. She's like, her mission is like she's all about Jesus. And there's something different. Like she couldn't put her finger on it, but she's like, I see it. And I was like, I want you to see. I could listen for 2 hours hearing you describe this woman because your face glows. Like it looks like you're eating something really good. She's always morose. But I'm like, when you describe this lady, there's something different about you. So what she's seeing is the hope of humanity. She's seeing something in this woman, and this woman, what she has is Jesus.
Right.
That's her life. But what you're looking at, what you're seeing, that's Jesus in her, and that's beautiful. Like that's the antivirus. That's the joy and the hope and the beauty that's worth living for, and we're not done yet.
Right.
Even you see that. I see it in your face. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, you got to see it from this side. Your face glows when you talk about her.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Amazing.
What am I signing into? Oh, I just gave you all day for that. Don't abuse it. That was an accident.
Don't say any passwords because you are on live. No passwords, no giving things away.
No passwords.
We'll all come over to your side.
We will steal your Bitcoin.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which I have been reading that it's doing pretty well right now. Is that true?
Yeah, it finally clipped 6 figures. So,
What?
yeah, 100 went up to about 103.
Yeah.
Wow.
Today or yesterday or something like that. Yeah.
So it just, I mean, in one side, one aspect's like, wow, that's really cool. And the other side, it really goes to show you how tough of a situation, the monetary system that we're in. It just,
Right.
yeah, it's just, yeah. So anyhow, but it's all good. Papa's got a plan. He's on the scene.
Heck yeah.
Things
Amen.
are happening. That hope, you know, put your
Yeah,
hope in big
I
love.
hope Ethereum comes up a bit because I'm
It-
looking to trade my Ethereum for Bitcoin.
yeah, it's come up nice. It's almost at $4,000, bro.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think,
once it hits 4.5, that was my last buy-in. Four and a
oh,
half.
nice.
I'm gonna trade into Bitcoin and have everything in
Yeah.
Bitcoin. Right on, man.
Yeah.
There's some hope
Yeah.
getting spread around.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
we need to fix some stuff, but no,
Yeah.
He
but
know he knows my limit and he knows humanity's limit.
yeah,
He knows.
Yeah.
lot going on in
Well,
the
he's
planet.
unlimited. So as sons, that means we're unlimited. There's
That's
no
right.
there's no limit to us. So it's a matter of going
It's
where,
removing the limit.
yeah, yeah,
It's like the limit is what you put on it,
yep,
Peter.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I create my own limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ego transformation. We talked about that last night. I know ego is synonymous in a bad way with selfishness, but ego is the self. It's the narrative I tell about myself. And my father has told a completely different narrative about me than I constantly try to put in his place. My mistakes are not my narrative. It's not who I am. And he fully expected us to muck it up. It's like, and if that's the case, can you even call it a mistake? Right? Like this, he knew this would happen. It's not like I knew this thing would break. No, I knew this would be the process. I knew this would be the way. And it actually provides a backdrop for you to see just how much I love you.
mhm.
Because I won't leave or forsake you.
Yeah.
You can't out mistake me. You can't, it's impossible. That
And where do those mistakes take place anyways? When you make the mistake, where is the activity of the mistake? Oh, it's in your soul body
yeah.
Mhm.
and not your spirit body. So you're living, there are brothers and sisters across the planet that are living and wrestling from a position of being in their soul body, their conscience, they're reasoning things with big love. Emotionally, they're trying to freaking hold it together, trying to make good choices, working really hard, trying to minimize the mistakes. And it's all of the activity and energy is taking place in your soul body. But that's the crucible of where the overcoming, where the authority comes from. But you leverage your soul body from your spirit body because we're a spirit that has a soul that lives in a wonderful technological, even though there are days and times it doesn't feel particularly well, and that's another conversation, but we have to really see ourselves that we're spirit energy transforming the soul,
Yeah.
bending the knee. We don't have all the answers. Loving on yourself. Well, how do you love on yourself when how do you do that? Well, get out of your soul body in your spirit body, but you're in your soul body. It's separate, but it's the same. It's just positioning and perspective.
That's right.
It's beautiful chaos.
Beautiful chaos, man. Keep overcoming, right? Keep standing.
Yep.
Oh,
That's what faith is.
Mm.
And I've just been reading Hebrews, getting into Hebrews, and it's just like, faith without works is dead, but hope is the seedbed for hate, for faith, for faith. So you got to have hope, the expectation of amazing things happening, but faith has to be the the thing that keeps it going. It's just like you continually water it with faith. So that hope rises up and the expectations of everything comes. But faith, without works. So there's got to be some type of push. There has to be some type of pushing in, whether it's in rest or whether
Right.
it's in what the fathers, need to do something, you know. But there's just that balance, and that's what keeps that hope alive. And then
That's
that's
that.
why joy is so key. Sorry, because
No,
you've
you go
got
ahead.
to
You
have
could.
the joy as the strength to keep that faith. I mean, it's just a righteousness, peace, and joy in Holy Spirit is His kingdom. So when you have that, and hope and faith, man, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, I was just going to add that faith. To me, it's that staying power. It's that stick to itiveness. Okay, so that comes from the spiritual realm, right? So that faith, that substance, that's a spiritual substance. Okay, well then, how do I inject that into my soul where there's this stuff going on? Great question. That's where you choose the gateway of choice. I choose to stand, and the staying power, the faith meets the soul body that wills itself that we will think good things. We will P48
Yeah.
whatsoever things. These are the
Right.
things that we'll think on. And then that's the soul gets energized because it's feeding off of this, your spirit, the faith, the staying power, having a conversation with yourself. Bro, we can do this. Who are you? I'm you. What are we doing? We're doing this. Love it. God, is that you? Or am I talking to myself? Yep. Wait a minute. God, is that you? Or am I talking to myself? I feel like I'm talking to myself. Is that
Yes,
you?
yes, and yes.
Yes and yes.
I was just thinking,
Yeah.
man, like, why is it so hard to find life in the universe?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, right? You would think if we were the virus, then then we should see examples of some kind of life, maybe not mirroring our own nature here, but somewhere in the solar system, life would have blossomed. But, and I know, as far as my paradigm goes, nature is here to support mankind, and we are here to learn and grow and steward nature. Like it's a symbiotic relationship. It exists here for that purpose. But barring that, just look at it. Maybe this is faulty logic, but mankind is the reason nature exists. We haven't found any life anywhere else because this is the only place that man is. We bring life by our existence here. I know you probably can't isolate that perspective. It falls apart without my father, without Yahweh. But like, we see it like this was for us, and we're for it. It exists because we're here. Mm-hmm. There is no utopia out there without mankind. There's no life that we can see without man.
Right.
Right. Otherwise, it'd be all cockroaches.
Right. Yeah, there'd be a planet of cockroaches. Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to stay home today.
Yeah.
We don't need to visit that planet.
Yeah. It's funny. You talked about the thoughts and, whether it's, my thought or the father's thoughts or whatever. So yesterday, I found out a cool thing about my car, which I didn't know.
All right.
So every time we have a long extended break from work where we don't have to use the car, a week or whatever, by the time, if I don't use the car, my battery's dead. So we were actually going to go to Jeff's for Thanksgiving and we were going to take my car. Well, get in there and it's click, 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 click. I'm like, what? I just used the car, So come to find out, if you so we ended up going to I think Napa Auto Parts, and because our car is an older vehicle, they said that and I don't drive enough. I drive 5 minutes to work, 5 minutes back. So they said you need to drive at least highway speeds for a half hour every week because your battery in the alternator, it's not
Mm,
getting a full charge. Never
mm.
getting a full charge. Which speaks for itself. That is a great sermon right there. If I ever, that's all where I'm going. But anyways, it's true. If you don't spend that time, you're not going to get that full charge, and
Mm.
then things start to really, then when you really need the battery, you're like, your strength's gone, So we ended up going and finding out that, so I ended up, driving when we, they told us that we went for a quick drive, came back. Oh, yeah, you got your batteries. You got a good battery. Everything's fine. Everything checks out, whatever. So I was thinking, okay, so every Wednesday after I have coffee with Jeff, I'm just gonna, instead of taking a right to go home, I'm gonna take a left and head out for about a half hour drive and then come back. Listen to this. So I get going full speed, you know. I didn't go too fast because there was a truck that got pulled over, blue lights flashing. I'm like, I'm not going too fast yet, but there's a time where I'm going to be able to go 60, 65. So I get out there, get flying, 65. I just get past the church and Jeff, Harvest Valley, and I'm thinking about our conversation that you and I had about merited favor. But it was really about having conversation with the Father. I'm like, I love the conversations that we have, and I was just, I was just thinking the Father for the conversation that you and I had, Jeff, but also just how you dialogue with the Father, and I'm like, that's really cool, and the unmerited favor and everything, and I was processing all that, and I was like, we do, I love your voice and I love talking to you and and I was, my wife and I have conversation every day, especially at work. It's just like after work, come home, we just kind of soundboard off each other and then we, enjoy dinner together and what I'm like, and I enjoy that, Father, with you. And I'm cruising, and I'm like, okay, so why do I always I said, I would love to be able to hear your voice like I'm talking. Because it would, instead of being in here, I feel like I'm in my head the whole time, Father. And it's just like I'm having a hard time. And guess what? My check engine light came on.
No.
I'm like, what the heck? That that conversation right there just went out, and so I'm like going, okay. My sensors all went on, it's my oxygen sensor
Ah,
went on. They're flipping expensive on a Toyota.
yep.
Couple $100 for one sensor, and you need four of them.
Mm, mm, mm.
So
Yeah.
hopefully they're not all bad. Maybe it's just one.
Yeah, I think, yeah, they tell you to buy two. I just need to know if I can do or get somebody, because it's just a plug. You just plug the thing in and plug it. I just need to know, I need to get on or know somebody that actually, Debbie's son actually does. So I have a text out to him like, how easy is this for me to do it? So I don't have to take it to a shop
Right.
and pay double for a little thing that's going to take 5 minutes for them to do.
Mm,
The part's like almost $200,
mm.
Jeez.
180, 150, whatever. But I'm like, okay, Daddy, there's got to be a lesson to this. Right when I was talking to you about this, the check engine light popped on. But it's all about the oxygen sensor. it's all about getting that oxygen, the right amount of oxygen and whatever gas to it. It somehow, it's like a conversation. It
Yeah.
really is like a conversation.
Yeah.
It's
Fuel air mix.
one-sided. The check engine light's going to go on. In a car, that's what it is. It's because it's not balanced.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know what, Father, I got to think about this a little bit more. I mean, I did a quick UE. I'm like, my check in, I don't know how I can, and I went to one of the places right past Taco Bell or whatever, and got the engine, got them to,
Pull the code.
Scan it.
yeah, pull the
Mhm.
code, and that's what it was. It actually let me know which one's bad,
Yeah.
which is cool actually. So I should be able to just do that and not have to replace all of them. But I mean, we always say it always happens in the most inopportune times. Like, Christmas is here. We're supposed to be taking a long trip to Cali. My wife just told me last night. So she went to a financial planner we trying to figure this whole thing out of us moving back to Cali and whatnot. How are we going to do this? And, working and how much, and so she's like, we really need to, we're really wanting to sell the Sequoia. We don't need it in Cali. It's too big for one thing. Just like, and to register that thing in Cali is going to be cray cray, and we just don't need it. It's not, it's served its purpose here. And so it's just like, and so the lady said, well, these next, this month is actually a perfect time to buy a car. Which it is. At the
It
end
is.
of the year, they like to get
Busy.
rid of their,
It's also the busiest day for
Yeah.
car dealerships. It's the last day of the year. People get tax write-offs.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. So I'm like, oh, Lord. So I put this out this morning. I'm like, Daddy, I want a new car. I want this car sold. I'm putting it out, man. I'm because after this, I watched this thing about last night, Jim Carrey talking about manifesting stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I manifest stuff all the time. Doesn't always happen the way that he does, but he said he manifested his first $10 million.
Yeah.
Started thinking about it, wrote a check for $10 million when he's going to cash it. By the time he was 25, he said, I want to do it. It happened right at his 25. But he said even younger, he said at one point, he said, yeah, I manifested my bicycle. I knew it was real when I was younger, and I said, I wanted a bicycle. I don't know how I was going to get it, but I wanted a bicycle. So he said, I can't remember the whole story. It was like he came home from school and there was this sweet bicycle in his living room. And he comes in and he goes, he was like, what's this for? And everybody was all excited. He had won this bicycle in a sweepstake that he never entered. His friend, that he, unbeknownst to him, had put his name in the basket along with his name, and Jim Carrey's the one that won. And he's like, from that, I knew that was, and we're learning obviously the power of words and manifesting and whatnot. And I was thinking about that last night. I was thinking about that today. But Jesus spoke on that. Ask, seek, knock, and the doors will be open to you. Ask. And so I was as processing, I'm like, okay. So I asked today, I'm like, I need a car, Father. We want this. I don't know how specific to be, but I'm like, okay, so these are three different things. It's like ask, but then there are times when we need to seek, which is putting the work in, which is pressing in, which is faith, and then there's time to just, okay, I need to knock on the door. I'm knocking on the doors, Father. I'm knocking on these doors. of course, he's the door. But when I knock on the door, I expect somebody to come at the door and I expect it. And so that was just like, as a son, we need to we need to do that more. And I'm not good at that. I am not good at that. I I kind of live my life on however it comes, it's gonna come. And when we talk about this, I'll press into stuff, but it's gonna come. And I'm like, Lord, I need these. For one thing, I want a new car. I wanted a new car for a while. We're in a new season. An angel of abundance tapped me on the shoulder just last week. I'm like, all right, I'm grabbing a hold of this. You are here for a reason. I started this new job. I started all this thing. Abundance is here. It's coming. It's now. I'm
Come
walking
on.
in it. Inheritance is happening. I got a baby or a grandbaby coming, abundance coming. I got all kinds of stuff that abundance I'm looking forward to being a part of. And so I need to, ask, seek, and knock. Know which ones to do, which ones, focus, Holy Spirit, what do we need? Should I be asking? Should I be knocking? Should I be seeking? And press in there. And I'm like, but man, it gave me a lot of hope. I'm like, dang, there's hope going on and faith, you know, like, okay, things are, I see this, in the midst of everything else that's going on. It's just like, dang, this is a chaotic stew of awesomeness. I just pull out things as we're going. I'm like, man, we're gonna be getting all kinds of stuff. Let your kingdom come. I mean, come, because shake down, press down, running over. It's just like that's what I want. I'm like, you know what? Given it shall be given, press down, freely receive, freely give. I love that. It's just like I've been freely, man, I'm giving this stuff out. These things are manifesting. I am giving, what I mean? It's just like when we get those breakthroughs, our testimony is breakthroughs for others. And that's what, that's where hope is. That's where people, like you, Eric, the way that you and your group, I mean, you are manifesting hope there, love and joy, you know, in the midst of the chaotic conversations that are happening. It's just like, you know what? Let me change their perspectives on how good our Father is. How good Big Love
Yeah.
is. How good, yeah, life sucks sometimes and it's not always fun and everything, but it's a matter of seeing it from a different perspective. Like, how would a son see it? How do we above the sun see and live and move and have our being? That's where it's at, I mean, there's gonna be flipping morning. There's gonna be that. But joy always comes in the morning. That's what he says, So
And it was unmerited if any of that happened, right?
yeah,
Because I walked
exactly.
into that meeting pissed. I've been up since 6:30. Was tired. They moved the venue to like 22 minutes from where I dropped my daughter off. So I got like almost an hour of driving back and forth to get to this thing. And Nicole was like, "You need to go." And I'm like, "I don't want to go. I want to stay home."
Ugh.
I walked in with teeth, man, and lit into it and
Shin.
and had to check myself and walked away with I got hope. So I walked away feeling different. And then this guy was asking me about my testimony, and I told him about just that morning how I was like the difference between driving up here yesterday morning and today. And this leads into a thought, but yesterday morning I was not having it. I didn't want to do this. I'm like, why do I sign myself up for this crap? The stress of this, the responsibility of this farm. Like, I'm not going to drop it. And now I feel like I chained myself to something I don't want, right? That was my whole perspective. It changed on the way up here, granted. But this morning, I'm like, oh my word, I am so blessed. I'm in the middle of traffic and I can feel the anxiety of people just trying to get to work, tailgating and cutting off and speeding. And I'm like, I ain't having none of that. I, and I don't. Here I am traveling with my whole family my wife, and my daughter, and we're getting to drive up. Oh, he's jumping for a meeting. Get to drive up here and take care of this farm in community with another believer.
Yeah.
I get that. It was a totally different experience this morning. No wonder the chores went so fast, but it was beautiful. I'm like, what a blessing this is. I'm not in a rat race. I could feel it. There was this guy at this machine shop. I could feel it like coming off of his truck in waves. I was like, that is one pissed off hombre, man. He is not wanting to go to work today. And I can tell by the way he's driving and what I can feel. And I'm like, I don't live that way. I was doing that yesterday in the midst of this blessing. I was choosing to live that way.
Hmm.
And now today, such a difference. I'm like, oh my word. I was missing all of these beautiful blessings that I'm surrounded with. I don't have a rat race. I didn't want it. I didn't want it when I was in it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not in it. And so this idea of unmerited, unwarranted, like, do I really believe that? When I go to manifest something good for me and my family,
I know.
do I really believe that it's unwarranted? Like, I don't have to earn it. I didn't earn this. What I'm sitting in right now, sitting in this beautiful place in the middle of the mountains. I didn't earn this. And I can't. It's unmerited favor. Do I really believe that? Like, I want to wrestle with that, man.
Yeah.
Because I think there's threads of me that believes that if I get something good, if it manifests, it's because I didn't screw it up
Yeah.
by not being unworthy, which is a lie, an absolute lie from the adversary. Wants me to believe that you only get good things when you deserve it. And if you get something good that you didn't deserve, don't you dare enjoy it.
I know. Or give
Who
it
are-
away.
Right. Who are you to expect
Hmm.
Yeah.
anything that you don't earn and warrant?
No.
That's a lie. He gave his son. We didn't deserve it.
Right. That's good, bro.
You know, I mean, like, did we deserve the flood? Did humanity deserve the flood? No, I don't think it's punitive. I don't think the flood was punitive. I think I don't get it. I don't understand how this works, but it doesn't make sense with the nature, the character of my father.
Yeah.
He wasn't punishing mankind. Somehow. I don't get it. Because he's not rewarding necessarily. I don't know. Sowing and reaping is there, so there's a law, but he's outside the law.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe outside of him, outside of relationship, man, Jeff, this feels like a Jeff thing. Outside of relationship, yeah, sowing and reaping, baby. You don't deserve it unless you earn it.
Hmm.
But in relationship with him, he's like,
Yep.
doesn't work that way. And don't you dare feel bad about it, because do not negate, do not poison my love for you.
Hmm.
Now that makes sense. Like, if I give my daughter food and sustenance and something that she enjoys, I would hate for her to be like, I don't deserve this, Dad. Man, don't rob me of the opportunity to give you something. I'm getting good out of this. I'm feeling it. If I can feel that, he's got to be buzzing with the idea of giving you a car, Paul.
Yeah.
That's
He's got to be
good, bro.
buzzing with the idea of blessing the work in my hands and making my Forerunner run like a top
Yeah.
because I'm putting effort into it. Dude, this is a lot to chew on, man.
Good stuff.
Bro, I'd almost be calling you a preacher, dude. You were doing some preaching there, bro.
You were in there.
Man, I come to your church Sunday morning.
Dude, I'm at church right
We got to
now.
go to that feel good church up the street down there in Greenville, South Carolina. Wait a minute, I just put it out there to the world where you live. I'm sorry, bro.
This is church, man.
Yeah.
This is the temple. I'm sitting in a temple.
Yep.
Is it a temple because I'm sitting here?
Mm.
Don't get too carried away with yourself. Maybe I'm not carried away with myself enough.
That's right.
I'm not defined by the errors. It's not a better word for that along the way. Because are they errors? If my daughter falls off her bike when she's learning to ride it, is that an error? I don't
No.
think so.
That's a mistake. See, those are the things that we call mistakes.
Yeah, a choice.
You know what I mean? It wasn't a mistake is like, oops, like I didn't mean to do that. Or I mean,
Or that was not the
you could be
outcome I was
careless
going
and make a
for.
mistake. After, they say it's a mistake until you do it twice. Then it becomes on purpose.
then it was an error. Like you knew
Yeah.
better.
I don't know if that's yeah.
No, there's a lot there, like to redefine how we evaluate our actions and the effect of our actions. What time is it, y'all?
It's 9:06. So
We still
you
live?
have we are live
I do. Okay.
until yes.
I mean, this feels like a good spot right here.
It's
Yeah.
good. It's good, man.
Stay on because Tino actually wants to come back on.
Yeah. So let's see. How do I? All right, YouTube, bear with me while I figure out how in the heck I'm supposed to stop this sucker.
On the phone.
Right. Yeah. Let's see.
And whoever's out there, we love you. Stay in the way, stay in the path.
Absolutely. Right. More. Stop live stream. All right, YouTube, this is it.
Until next time.
Sign
Love
off,
y'all
Marcel.
soon.
Love y'all.
Shalom.